If air is 78% nitrogen, what is the advantage of putting nitrogen into automobile tires?
Okay, so as I think about this question, the if-then statement doesn't quite make sense to me. There's a real reason why.
So is air 78% nitrogen?
So first of all, yes, air is
Okay.
78% nitrogen. So the air that we're breathing right now is mainly nitrogen. And it's kind of a funny thing, I think, initially, if you'd be asked, okay, what is air made out of? Most of us say oxygen because oxygen is the most relevant gas to our lives that's in the air. The other big gas that often gets brought up is carbon dioxide gas. So when I ask my students, what is the air made of? Most of them say, oh, it's oxygen and maybe a little bit of carbon dioxide. But in fact, the truth is that more than 3/4 of the air that we breathe is nitrogen gas. And probably the reason that it doesn't get talked about very often is that it doesn't do a lot. And this is actually the very reason why you want nitrogen gas in your tires. So nitrogen gas, when we talk about it, it's not a single nitrogen atom floating around. It's a compound called N2. So it's two nitrogens double bonded together. And the deal is that oxygen, which is also floating around as O2 gas typically, oxygen has this ability to oxidize very easily. Oxygen is very reactive. And it's really, really useful to us that oxygen is reactive because oxygen is reactive, so we breathe it and we use that reactivity. Oxygen combines with sugar in our systems, or a broken down form of sugar, to create energy for us. Oxygen is what allows us to burn wood or make a fire of any kind. Oxygen is also what causes rust or causes decay, which are not necessarily good things maybe, but from some perspective we need them to happen. Nitrogen is not a typical oxidizing element. Even though nitrogen by itself can be pretty reactive, since it mainly exists as N2 gas, it exists as this inert gas. When nitrogen bonds with another nitrogen, its electron orbitals are totally filled. They're sharing electrons, and both nitrogens in this relationship are pretty happy, and they're just not going to react with too many things. The least reactive gases that we talk about in chemistry are the noble gases, things like helium and neon and xenon. But nitrogen is often cited as a very inert gas, a gas that doesn't react with very much. And getting back to the tires that we were talking about originally in the question, the deal is that what you want inside of your car tires is a gas that's not going to react very often. So typically what people have done to fill tires is just use pure air. So they've taken air from the atmosphere and shot it into the tires. And in that case, you're putting the same mixture that we breathe into your tires. You're putting a mixture that's mainly nitrogen, but also contains oxygen and these other gases in very small quantities. Unfortunately, since oxygen is reactive, it can react in a negative way with your tires. So it can break down the very rubber that make your tires hold together. Now this takes a long time, but it's just something that adds to that decay. By pumping pure nitrogen into a tire, you're pumping an inert gas into that tire, and it's not going to react with the rubber inside the tire, and it's going to make the insides of the tire at least last longer than they would with oxygen. So it really just gets back to that fact that nitrogen is very non-reactive as a gas that we find in our environment, and oxygen is very reactive. So you want less of that in a situation where you want to keep something preserved for the longest time possible.
Subscribe! Come on, push the button.
You know you want to.
Do it.